Hey guys, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be installing my ultimate air assist in my 80-watt C02 laser. I've also printed off this wiring diagram from Cloud Ray Laser. Basically just shows the solenoid and how to wire the switch and everything to the actual controller. I purchased the air assist kit off of Amazon. It was $79, so relatively cheap, and basically came with all these things, the solenoid and the relay. I'm actually not going to be using this relay because I'm going to plug my air compressor straight to the power point, so I'm not going to be using that. I also bought some extra air line or air tubing just in case I needed it, and some thread tape and a couple of extra fittings. So the extra fittings that I bought were just some 6mm tube joiner, just in case I needed to join any tubing, and then also another push fitting that goes into the other side of the regulator. This is the regulator that I bought. I got this one on eBay for about 15 bucks. It just comes with some fittings, obviously the regulator itself, and just the gauge that screws in on the front of that. So that pneumatic fitting there is basically going to go on one side of the regulator, and that's going to run to my machine, and then the normal Nitto fitting will go on the other side, which will go to the air compressor. I also grabbed some wire and also some wire cutters or wire strippers as well to do that. So just pop this away and then I'll show you in the bag. So this is basically the air assist kit, so it's just some blue tubing there, and obviously the plug for the controller, but I'm just going to use the existing one that's already in mine, and then there's just some fittings that screw into the actual solenoid. So now that regulator's all set up, I'll go through and just basically set up this solenoid. On the website that I got the wiring diagram from, there's also a picture of the solenoid and how it's meant to look once it's set up. I don't think it really matters whether you turn that there, but I'm just going to do that so that it looks the same as the picture that I've got. So it's just basically a matter of, I guess, first of all, popping in or screwing in those fittings. And also I'm just making sure that I've got thread tape on them. The fittings look like they've got thread tape on them, but I can't seem to peel it off, but it does look like there's some white tape on there already, but I'm just going to put a little bit more on just to make sure that there's no air leaks or anything like that. So this one that I'm screwing on the front here is the one that has the adjustment screw on the front of it, and it's also the same one that little piece of blue hose plugs into, and then that runs to the T-piece that plugs in on, or that screws in on the other side. And that works as like a bypass. So I think basically what happens is it allows air to constantly run through the solenoid to your laser head, probably enough to just sort of keep your lens clean. And you can adjust that whether you want more or less with that little adjustment screw on the front. It also does come with another ball valve that you can put in line, and so I'll probably put that in as well so that I can actually turn the air on and off without having to do it from that solenoid. But I think that obviously once the solenoid is activated or open, it then allows the full pressure to come through whatever you've got your regulator sat at. From what I've read and what I've seen, it usually looks like it's between 25 and 30 psi. But obviously once I get this set up, I'll run a few tests and just see what sort of works for me. The one that I'm using at the moment is just a small aquarium pump, and it doesn't really blow much at all, to be honest. So this is definitely going to be a good upgrade for me. I'm excited to see it work. And as I said, I'm just following this diagram to basically, get it all hooked up. I probably won't do a video of running all the cabling and wiring through the machine and things like that. It's probably a bit fiddly trying to hold the camera and do that at the same time, but you know, I'll definitely go through and show you where I'm going to wire it into, and you know, where I do run the lines and everything after they're done. So that's pretty much there, and then this is that bypass that I was talking about. So it just pops into that one with the adjustment screw, and then pops into the other side. And I said that adjustment screw, you can open or close it to set that wherever you want, so that there's just a minimal amount of air coming through, so you could use that for when you're engraving, and also just to protect that lens. So that's that pretty much set up. Now I'll go through and actually hook up the wires and the diode. So there's just a small screw on the top of the solenoid here that you just need to unscrew, and then that cover will just pop off. And then you can see there's a positive and a negative on the solenoid as well. So these are the diodes. I think I've got 3 in this pack. Obviously I'm only going to need one of them because I'm not using the relay. I don't know if you can see it here, but I'll hold that up there. There's a line on one side of that diode, and that line goes to the positive side on the solenoid. I don't know if you can see there, but there is actually a plus or positive sign there, and then there's a negative one there. So that diode sits between those 2 screws, and basically I think it's to help with the power surge or something, so the power can't run back through it or something like that. So it's basically going to sit in there, undo those screws, pop the diode in along with the wire, and then tighten those up. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's the solenoid in, wired up, the diode in, and the wires as well. I've just popped a little bit of masking tape on the positive wire there, just because I'm using the same coloured wires. I just didn't want to get them confused, sort of thing. So a bit of masking tape on there so I can tell what's what, and then it's just a matter of popping the cap back on and putting that screw back in, and it'll be pretty much ready to go. So as I said, I probably won't do a video of actually trying to run the wires through the machine and actually putting them in there and that, because it's just going to be a bit tricky holding up that camera. But I will definitely go through and show you where I'm going to wire it into, and then obviously where I'm going to mount the switch and, you know, mounting the switch and everything like that. So fingers crossed that part all goes to plan, and we'll see how it turns out. Alright, so here's where I'll be installing the wiring. Goes up in this top one here. You can see it says power, wind, status, and then the ground. I've already got some cables going in there, so I'll probably just put these new ones in with those ones. Just pop that out. So yeah, the whole thing basically just wires into this plug. And then up here is the air line, so that's the existing air line that's coming from the air pump at the back and runs through to the laser head. So I'll end up just tapping into that line. I'll probably install my ball valve up in here somewhere, just so it's out of the way, but still accessible when I'm using the machine. So that's that air line there, so yeah, I'll end up tapping into that. But hopefully it's pretty straightforward. So again, yeah, just wire into that one. You do get one of these green blocks when you buy the air assist kit, but I'm just going to use the existing one there, so see how we go. But basically got these together now. So there's the solenoid and the regulator. So basically, once they're in place, I'll have the air compressor plugged into there, and then I'll have a line running from there to the solenoid, and then obviously that's the adjustment valve or override switch or whatnot, and then out there to the laser head, which will be the ball valve will be in between there to obviously turn off that air as well. And I'll install that switch as well, so it's like a manual switch, so I can turn it on and off. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just install this switch first, just in the front of the machine here. So I'm basically just going to drill a hole in the front here, and yeah, it'll just sort of sit in there, and it's got a little screw fitting on the front of it to hold it in place. So I'll just pop some masking tape in behind there just to help grab any shavings and that fall through, just because it's near the control panel there, I guess. I don't really want it to anything in there. So yeah, just gonna basically randomly whack that there. So I'll just drill a hole here. Just caught some of them shavings there. So yeah, it's basically popped through the back. I'll obviously take it back out to wire it up, but I'm just going to set it in there for now, just to make sure it all fits. Perfect. Alright, hey guys, welcome back. I've got the air assist all installed, and so far so good. Seems to be running pretty good. So I'm just going to give you a quick run through on what I did and how I sort of did it. I'll basically start with the air compressor. So this is the air compressor that I'm going to be using. It's just a 5 horsepower with a 50-litre tank. It's just an old one that I had sort of in the shed that I don't really use too much, so I'm just going to hook it all up to that. So at the moment I've got that running to the regulator, so into the regulator and then to the machine. I've got it set on about 20, probably about 22 PSI at the moment, which seems to be pretty good, but I can sort of obviously, you know, higher or lower. I've just not sort of figured out exactly what setting it needs to be on at the moment. Basically ran it through the back of the machine here, so that's just where the old one was. I've just gone in through that hole and then ran it basically back along the back of the laser tube here and then down in through there. Coming around here, air line goes here and runs to the solenoid. Now I was going to put the solenoid at the back of the machine. I don't really know why I changed my mind, but for now it's basically going to be here. So solenoid sits in here, and basically the wiring looks a little bit all over the place at the moment, but it's pretty good, seems to do the job. So I've also got the ball valve on the side here to turn the air on and off as well as like a secondary thing. So basically I'll show you air on there. So when that's all on, it's got a little bit blowing out the bottom here, probably just enough to keep the lens clean, and then you've got the manual switch, and that takes it up to the 20 psi. So it's quite a pretty big difference. So again, with this I can actually turn that air off altogether. You do have another control valve down on the solenoid here. So I've got this one set now, and then I just turn the actual air on and off with this one. I wired mine up a little bit different, not a little bit different, it is the same, but I'll just show you on the thing here. I didn't use the relay that came with the Cloud Ray laser air assist kit, and that's just basically because I'm going to plug my air compressor basically straight into the power point, and just turn it on and off from there to save plugging it into the back. I think they plug them into here. So I'm not going to worry about that. So I didn't use the relay. And this is just basically how mine hooked up. So we've got the switch here. There's 6 pins on the back of the switch. I didn't use those 2 at all. Basically soldered an earth wire straight across here and ran that straight to the earth. Coming off here, I had one that goes to status, and the one off the other switch came along to the negative solenoid, which is actually split here. So from the negative solenoid to the switch, but also in on that line to wind. And then obviously positive of the solenoid through to the 24 volt power. And obviously don't forget to put the diode in there. So, and I think the line goes to the positive side. So, yeah, but that's basically how I've hooked mine up. I've got the flow restrictor, which is on the solenoid, which is what I just showed you down there before. So that can be adjusted, but I'm going to leave that set at that. And I'm just going to turn the air on and off here as far as letting it go. So basically I'll turn that on whenever I'm working, and that's just going. It's set up in RD Works that it just automatically turns on and off depending on how I set up the jobs. Now, I didn't have to go into RD Works and manually do any of that. It just worked. So I basically ran a job. As soon as I ran it, the air kicked on by itself. When it went to engraving, it turned off and engraved. So I just set that up to do it that way, and it worked fine straight off the bat. So there really wasn't any mucking around with that. So yeah, it's actually good. It's really good. I did do about a 20-minute, probably 15 minutes, 16 minutes job, and the compressor kicked on probably 3 or 4 times during that duration. So I don't know if you can see out there, but I've actually got another shed beside this one. There's just a small 3x3 meter shed that I use for storage. So I'm actually going to put the compressor into that shed and just run the leads through the window here. That way, when the compressor kicks on and off, it's not going to be in here and be so loud. So yeah, that's pretty much about it, really. The whole thing took me probably 2 hours from start to finish. So it was actually really easy. And again, I just followed this diagram, which I just got off the website where I bought the air assist kit from. And as I said, wired up a little bit different because I didn't use the relay. But that's pretty much exactly how mine is wired up. And yeah, super easy. Just bought some cable here. And yeah, just basically wired it all in. So my controller already had something in the ground and these little brown wires that were in the 24 volt power as well. So I just put these ones in with those ones and tightened it all up. Yeah, as I said, guys, it was a pretty easy process. And yeah, I'm really glad I've did it. I'm looking forward to seeing the improvements that it'll have on this machine. And yeah, thanks again for watching.